welcome back to Umineko. 3 months left to live. It was last year when you said that, right, Dr. Hanjo? I only spoke of what I could comprehensively determine from his physical condition at the time. As a result, this year, too, just so happens. So even though stuff will whether that'll last until the end of the year, he's still focused on his occult research, and you still say he only has 3 months left, Doctor. Like I said, Kendo-san's. Shouldn't you be happy that our respected father is still in high spirits, and if I sense a parental respect each of you is so eager to greet father? I can see how upset you are that he's unwilling to meet with you. Considering anyone is aiming for the inheritance while the sun is still in the sky, I can understand why father wouldn't want to see you. You've got it wrong, Natsuhini-san. We just, that is an immortal and he'll die someday. We aren't telling him to die. We're just saying that he will die sooner or later. We're just talking together about how to prepare for that. And that is precisely what is so disrespectful. Stop it, you'll make your headache worse. Cross told Natsu, who had risen from her chair in agitation, to sit down. Trying to smooth over the atmosphere, which had suddenly become filled with suspicion, Hideyoshi put on a forced smile and motioned for everyone to calm down. Natsu and Nisa, don't misunderstand. People say you should always stand up after yourself, right? We're just talking about seeing him off. We're discussing this so we can see father off neatly when he takes off on the journey he's eventually gonna make. That's just like you, Hideyoshi-san, even though you're saying the same thing. You make it sound so intellectual. Yeah, sorry, unlike you, Nisan. Quit it. We're not getting anywhere. So like we're saying, Aniki, forget all this about the inheritance. I don't even care if that hits us. To make a long story short, we want to meet Dad directly and say hello. And if he says he just don't want to. If he's locked up in his set, if we don't care if you have to borrow a key, we can get you some. Right, Rosa? Oh, well, I'm sound like we're forcing you. It's just, we haven't settled with father in such a long time. If his remaining life is really short, then there's a chance we might never see him again. Today might be our final opportunity to exchange words with father. Yeah, it's just right like Rosa says. If he only has 3 months left to live, it wouldn't be out for him to pass away any time now, right? Are you saying that despite that, we don't even have the right to talk with him at least one last time? Regardless of the circumstances, is not just a bit too much? If good and father was truly what you wish to do, I'm sure he'd happily allow you to meet with him. But father's already heard about the disrespectful topic you hope to raise. No one will want to meet with you under those conditions. The reason you cannot meet with father is because of your own doing and nothing else, is it not? Exactly. You shouldn't have to rack your brains to understand why father doesn't wish to see your faces, right? Father has been seen through all of your tight financial situations. What are you talking about? I don't have a clue what you're going on about, Nissan. Did you really think I didn't know about the state you're in? Eva and the rest realized that he had seen through their current lack of funds, an alternative between bluffing and returning to the point at hand or agreeing back. They repeatedly pressed cross to let them meet with Kenzo. The sweet smell of the black tea Rosa had gone out, but where to buy it completely wasted. The only thing that she was glad about now was that the children weren't here for this. The fact that they'd gone out to play at the beach right after lunch had been their only salvation. Eva made a solo to tackle Cross and Hideyoshi and Carrie kind of between them, trying to calm both sides. Then Carrie took a deep breath and spoke. I'm sorry, Cross-san. I know I'm an outsider, but I wonder if you let me say one thing. I have a proposition. What is it, Carrie-san? First, the name includes my husband as well. For many years, we have belittled the efforts you've made by living with father and taking care of him. Isn't that right? That's well, we've got it easy since we get to go outside, but Anaki's been babysitting Dad for decades now, and it's been a lot of hard work. I'll accept that, but what's your point, Kyrie? We must acknowledge that Cross-san is father's caretaker, is that right? We've always feared father and have pushed the task of caring for him onto Cross-san. Everyone should acknowledge his efforts. Isn't that right, Eva Nissan? And so what? Nissan's father's caretaker, don't decide things on your own, outsider. Hey, now, calm down, Kyrie-san, what are you talking about? Carrie, please continue. We should be more grateful towards Cross-san and Natsuhi-san. We should thank them for always taking care of father. It's our lack of gratitude that's to blame for all these wasteful conflicts we keep having. Isn't that right, Cross-san? I'm surprised. I did not think you, Carrie-san, would be able to understand our efforts, which even my true siblings have not stopped to consider. It's a natural duty for the successor to the Hoshinomiya family headship. That's right. It's your responsibility as the successor, the headship, isn't it? It's because you take care of Father that we must acknowledge you as a successor. Hey, why are you bringing up this all by yourself? You're just an outsider. Wait, Anarchy. That's right. It's just like Harry says. Because you take care of Dad, you're the successor. Anarchy, it's just like you said. Oh. Who else unnoticed and Eva did? Eva's barking demeanor towards Kari for advancing the discussion on her own disappeared in a flash, and she said, stared across at Natsuki. Natsuki could understand a sudden change and was slightly flustered. Krasny-san, if you accept just a few conditions, we won't ask you to let us meet Father until he dies. Of course, we want the man to be present at his deathbed. We wouldn't even mind being absent at the funeral. Oh, where are you going with this? But I may as well listen for now. Let's hear your terms. First, the term successor to the headship refers to the caretaker of their current head, Ushirami Akinso. And then, second, the duty of the caretaker is to look after the Ushirami Akinso for the rest of his life. To make this simple, the caretaker's job is to care for him until his final moments. You are prepared to do that from the beginning, Crossing says, so that won't cause any problems. Naturally, I have no objections to either of those terms. I am already carrying them out. Third, on the off chance that the caretaker is neglectful in his responsibilities of supervision, he shall be deprived of the rights as a caretaker. With that sentence, all slack disappeared from across his face. Natsuki alone was still having trouble figuring out what it meant. Oh, and just what are these responsibilities of supervision that the caretaker bears? It means supervision so that Father can live the rest of his life in the best possible health. I'll be more detailed than that. In case that Father dies, anything other than a natural death, the caretaker will be deprived of his rights as a caretaker, and his status as a successor of the headship will be lost. If that happens, the next highest in rank, Eva Nisa, will be selected as a successor. What did you say? How can you be so shamelessly speak such nonsense? Oh, my, the caretaker certainly has a heavy responsibility. However, people could die in many ways. For example, senile people sometimes die when food gets caught in their throats. Normally, this is called death by old age in a broader sense. But with your argument that becomes a death by accident, I bear the responsibility of supervision. This is unjustly disadvantageous to me. I have no intention of forcing such an unfair argument on you. I'm referring to the kind of thing that the caretaker could have prevented beforehand by taking good care of keeping his eyes on Father. It may be the caretaker's job to carry food to Father's mouth, but whether he swallows it or not is clearly outside of the caretaker's responsibility. I would have absolutely no problems with the examples you raised, Cross-New-Son. Oh, so what kind of case are you referring to that might cause a caretaker to be blamed for making a blunder? For example, if he disappeared. Oh, it seems that right now Father is in firm control of himself, but dementia might begin to sit in. You might wander around when you aren't looking and get in some kind of accident, or he might get lost in a forest or go missing. Wouldn't this type of case clearly be the responsibility of the caretaker? Father's mind is perfectly healthy. There's no need to bring up dementia. On one day, suddenly I saw Father go into the forest. I chased after him, but I couldn't find him. I called the police to search, but after being unable to find him for 7 whole years, I am declared legally dead. My point is, we won't accept it if you use a story like that to treat him as dead. Well, Father passes away, an autopsy will certainly be carried out and will confirm that he died of old age in the most general meaning, within the bounds of common sense. A death of any other cause will be held as a caretaker's responsibility. See, they're all things you toil away all this time across these time. They aren't strange conditions or anything of the sort, right? You are mocking us disgracefully, so I find it hard to imagine why my husband must be coerced into the real that disgraces him in this way. Actually, I've been suspecting this since last year. No, everyone here has probably suspected as well. Eva, Nisan, and Hideyoshi, Nisan, Rudolph-san, and Rosa too. Everyone has suspected it the whole time, but it was so frightening to imagine that no one actually said it. Yeah. It seems this is what you're trying to say, that Father's already dead and I've been hiding it. Oh, that's right. That's one of the theories I thought was the key to resolve the last mystery in the previous game. You mean by the very last bit, the mystery of who killed Dr. Nancho? That's right. The witch definitely said a lot in her right. She mentioned the names of all 18 people and announced whether they were alive or dead, and then she claimed that there were no humans besides them. But with this theory, I can weave my way through the gap. I see. So this is one of the answers that doesn't cause those two to contradict. Makes sense. See what I'm saying? You catch up pretty quick. It's nice that I don't have to explain. The known 19th person exists on this island, and yet this checklist makes in an unknown new character. In other words, the names of all 18 people don't necessarily correspond to the 18 people on the island. That's it. The witch mentioned the names of 18 people one after another and announced whether they were alive or dead. And on top of that, she announced that there are no humans other than 18. There was a single illusion in there. It was a guarantee that the 18, I didn't mean to skip that, sorry guys. When she named all 18 people and announced who was alive and who was dead, she hid the name of the culprit X and instead mixed in someone who was on this island. By doing that, even though the culprit was on the island, she was able to leave him out of the list of living or dead people. The one person who was mixed in was actually on the island, so he didn't count towards the total number of people on the island. By this, even though the culprit counted towards a total of 18 people on this island, it was possible for his name to not be listed. The two statements in red are completely independent, so this theory creates no contradictions. If someone's name was used to hide the existence of the culprit, that name just satisfies several conditions. First of all, even though the person is on the island, they've got to be someone we think is on the island. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to trick us. And especially if this person happens to be dead. No alibi is more perfect than death. After all, at that point, the mystery is based on the fact that the crime was impossible for all 18 people. Is it something like that? Yeah, that's it. And that person was grandfather. Right now, that's the only one thing Harrison could be about to say. We thought grandfather was locked up in his study, saying that he didn't want to meet anyone. Was it a possibility that he's actually dead already, and that Uncle Cross is lying when he claims grandfather is alive? That's right, grandfather was closed up in his room the whole time, and no one saw his face. Maybe he was already dead, and Uncle Cross and others were conspiring together, trying to trick everyone. If Kenzo dies, the distribution of the inheritance occurs. However, if Kenzo doesn't die, no, if he dies, but it isn't announced, the distribution of inheritance won't take place. In other words, Uncle Cross could have all the grandfather's wealth to himself. That's right, he's got more than enough motive. Maybe the 19th person really doesn't exist on this island. But then person X existed, and that person was the 18th person. In other words, there were originally 17 people on the island, and not 18, and then unknown persons X snuck in and committed the crime. How's that, Beato? Come on, I just solved the final biggest mystery from last time. As Butler claimed that forcefully, the crisp sound of clapping came out of nowhere, and their surroundings turned bright, becoming the usual witch's tea room. Ha ha ha, bravo, bravo. I wish I could deny that someone as incompetent as you has finally got a feeling for it, but somehow or another you managed to come up with a single answer. Even a lump of concrete can stop thinking, so you have now finally evolved into a being with intelligence. You might say you've finally taken a step forward from the crying creature you were before, just licking my shoes and grinding your teeth. I can't believe that stupid wordplay threw me for so many loops last time. My lameness pisses me off even. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, but to repeat it, if you can announce that all 18 people on the island, including grandfather, just try and do it. Yeah, you can't because he was already dead. This is a very deception. Haha, well now what have we here? Shall I slice that in two with the red truth? No, it might be also good to hold back for now and let you get all excited. If I'm going to push you off a cliff anyway, it'd be more interesting to lure you into a higher place first. As Beato sneered obnoxiously, she looked like she was searching for an expression that would tick me off even more, as though she was saying that the answer I reached was impossibly ridiculous. Compared to me, annoyed as I was, the witch's attitude, Gretel had a blank and a composed expression on her face, almost as though she expected the witch to act that way. I see, just like our battler has learned and grown, so has the witch. What's wrong, Beato? Don't act so tough. I asked if you can repeat the answer. Stop it, Battler. The witch won't answer so easily. She won't do it until she thinks it'll benefit her. What? What do you mean? You've been toyed with by this rare truth in the games up until now, so the witch has used it many times. But now the situation is different. You're trying to draw the rare truth out of her and are instead using it as your weapon. In this situation, there's no way the witch will keep firing off the rare without reason, right? Gretel, whoever you are, it seems your mind is quite sharp, unlike a battler's, with a fearsome enemy have welcomed in. That's correct. Battler hopes I'll use the red truth. Do I have any responsibility to do so? No, I don't even have a crumb from that croissant you ate this morning. The morning's worth of responsibility to please you. You bastard. Yes, that's face. I started playing with the red truth just because I wanted to see what that face. I have no reason to play around if I won't give me a chance to see you look like that. You just don't like losing, right? Just saying whatever you can to trick me because you can't answer my demand won't work. Don't be so full of yourself. An answer like that could be cut to pieces without any effort. But I won't go out my way to speak in red. I won't say it because that's what you're asking me to do. Do you know why? You just said it. You wanted to push him off at the sweetest spot. This ill-natured witch is saying she won't use the red anymore because that's what you want. In other words, she won't go along with this game of telling her to repeat things anymore. Exactly. Unlike Battler, everything goes quickly with this girl. No need for explanations. I will say what I please with the red truth at the time I desire. I said, basically, it's the witch's right to use the red truth as she pleases. She doesn't have to use it at whatever time the human side desires. But even that depends on the situation. The situation? What do you mean? The witch has no responsibility to respond when you tell her to repeat something. But it does become a responsibility if and only if your claim could destroy the witch's theory. After all, in this trial court without a judge, that which is not refuted becomes the truth. Just like other witch story made by the witch will instantly become truth if you collapse and stop thinking. Then, since she doesn't have a counter-argument for my guess, that means it's right. It's right that the culprit is the mysterious 18th person X and grandfather's already dead. At least until the witch argues back, the truth always loses to the new truth farther in the future. The tricky part is that either when the timing of the counter-argument is up to the witch. In other words, maybe your reasoning just now was correct, or maybe the witch is refraining from arguing back because though you're wrong, or the witch may be ignoring it because it doesn't shake the basis of the witch theory in the first place. But either way, we can't tell the difference at the current time. Is that more or less it? Damn you, Lady Birkenstow, for throwing in such a troublesome piece. Thanks for that. I'm losing all my lines. The witch has learned that she can respond to your demands to repeat phrases at a later time. Maybe you could call it even a delay to move. She's messing with me, so even if I announce something mistaken reasoning, there's a possibility that Beato will intentionally let me flounder about without denying that guess, and at the very end, when I propose even more massive line of reasoning, she could cut it off at the base and spin everything around. A single piece of reasoning becomes a bridge to the next piece. By demanding that she repeat lines, I've been able to straighten my position and advance bit by bit. But since that bastard Beato learned this strange delay tactic, I can no longer confirm or deny my reasoning. Just like finally finding a staff that'll let me search around in the darkness, only to lose it right away. I'm just stuck now, right? Hey, Pal, if you make a despairing face like that, I won't be able to stop drilling, you see. But in the beginning, that staff was something more than something I gave you because you're so worthless. And this means that you can finally challenge me without a handicap, right? But that alone doesn't change the fact that the minute that you repeat that things is one of Battler's ways to fight back. As I already said, as long as it's something fatal that'll destroy the witch story, the witch is obligated to argue back and therefore to speak with the red truth. Well, the timing of that kind of argument is up to the witch. It must be performed eventually. Isn't that right? That may be so. If I cannot deny the tricks done by humans theory Battler lays out by the game's end. Battler will use that as a reason to deny me, and it will be responsible for him to proclaim his victory. So should we view this as a restriction on the witch's side, that the trick theory laid out by the human side? In other words, what he tells you to repeat must be encountered during the game, during the episode. That is so. Battler's goal is to show that he can explain the entire puzzle game I have laid out on this island with humans that deny me. If Battler succeeds in that, at that time, he will become the victor of this game. Let me confirm the rules. Should we view the time the game ends as referring to 24 p.m. on October 5th, 1986, going by the time of the Rook and Chuma in the game? I have no problems with that. At the time the game ends, the human side must state a theory, using tricks for all their stories, and if the witch side can argue back, the human side can proclaim its victory. Does that work? Let's be more specific. When the game ends, the witch side will be given a chance to argue back. Let's decide on the amount of time. 1 minute. If you cannot carry out your argument within 1 minute, victory will be proclaimed. Allow me to impose the same rule on you. At the time the game ends, the human side will be granted 1 minute to counter the mysteries that's been given. If even a single mystery has not been countered within that time, it becomes a witch's victory and that is game over. It would be such a killjoy to have the game stop for lengthy consideration, right? You asshole, moving things along without me. But I more or less get what's going on. Even if the lines that demand that you repeat aren't encountered instantly, they've got to be countered eventually. Yes, that's right. And that must happen before 1 o'clock, I don't know, on October 6th. Be careful. She only has to cut up one thing. She only has to cut up one of the things you tell her to repeat. You can't proclaim your victory unless you solve all the puzzles. Just as I can use the red, from now on I will allow you to use the blue Battler. When explaining my magical murders with human tricks, you may state your claims in blue. I am responsible for your countering your blue with the red by the end of the game. Blue. So I'll talk in blue when I tell you to repeat things. Not quite. When you tell me to repeat lines, you were able to do it for any trivial thing. But the blue is a little more restrictive, unless it's unless it by itself denies which it will not be valid. It's starting to get confusing, but it's more or less something like this. For example, let's take one of the riddles in the past where I asked her to repeat something. The actual number of master keys is 5. They make it affirm there were only 5 master keys, which she claimed there were no more than 5. But since that by itself wouldn't deny which is, I can't say it in blue. So in order to speak in blue, I need to sit there like this. The actual number of master keys was greater than 5. And the culprit entered or exited the room with that extra key. Only then would the witch who claimed that this was a closed room murder made with magic be responsible for making a counter-argument. In other words, I could demand that she repeat something that merely confirms the premises of my reasoning. That'll probably be a significant disadvantage for me. Crap, it's enough to make the red beetle use the toy with me until now look extremely merciful. Damn it, so even if I create a theory for a particular closed room and speak it in blue, if Beetle denies it at the very, very end, I won't have time to create my next theory. This feels awful, horribly bad for me. Are you going to surrender before the fight begins again? Calm down. No one said you could use only the blue once for each mystery. Do you know what that means? And no, what does it mean? In the pitiful way you've been fighting up until now, you made a single theory, glance at the witch's complexion. And if that one didn't work, you start making another theory. We won't corner our witch like that. But how should I fight? You don't mean... Yeah, that's right. You don't attack her riddles with a point. You assault them with a wall. You said so yourself in an earlier game that the force of your reasoning should be like that. Assault with a wall, that's right. I said so myself earlier. Guessing and trying to expose a mystery is like trying to shoot a distant target with an arrow. Until now, I've been shooting an arrow after arrow, asking a witch if I scored a hit, and then preparing my bow again once I've been told I missed. There's no way I'll hit it that right. Bullets might be a better example than arrows. If you take one shot after another at a distant target with the handgun, you probably won't hit it really easily. So how can you hit it? If a handgun doesn't work, use a shotgun. Instead of a single bullet, ready to down with a shot comprised of countless projectiles at once. Shots scatter so it impacts a wide area. It makes it optimal for shooting small, fast targets like birds. That's right, there's no rule that says I have to guess like a pistol, shooting one off at a time. Making a single theory, just hoping that it hits is no better than stopping your own thinking. Blast away a massive number of bullets of gases and make them impact like a wall so that only one of them hitting the target is enough. Blue, huh? I get it. If you had treated this as a sharp katana, then it looks like my blue is a shotgun. No, a machine gun whose firepower will turn the witch into a honeycomb. I see, so it's an awkward gun that fires many shots. That sort of crude analogy is just like you. Climax of a detective novel is always the same. The famous detective gathers all the suspects at once and displays a single trail of logic that works splendidly, almost like William Tell spectacularly shooting through an apple with a single row. That's why I mistakenly took that to be a virtue. It probably would be splendid if I could shoot through the truth of a single guess, but that isn't realistic. Look at real wars. They really have everyone pull long guns out of the trench and really well and take shots at each other one at a time. They don't, right? They fire rapidly. They fire all over the place. They pin down the enemy with a barrage, reasoning the same way. Because of that weird virtue, I've been stuck. Thinking it's better to take one line of reasoning at a time. We humans can fire off countless guesses and possibilities. The bullet is the power of imagination. Suspension is a clog the barrel. The pathetic way I've been reasoning up until now is like a pea shooter. I've been so lame, weakly firing off shots, getting them denied in red, and then taking the next bullet and reloading. My blue truth, which claims that humans and tricks are what's real, will overpower its target, the illusion told by the witch, with its firepower and the force of what I can imagine. This is my Umineko battler's fighting style. Thanks to you, I figured out my true fighting style, thanks to Gretel. You're welcome. Makes me think of how pathetic I was before. Yeah, looks like Beato said. I've had a handicap until now. I acknowledge it. New, real understood. I am my own way of fighting. I'll show you it. That willpower is good. I like it. Then try using it right. Away this blue truth of yours. Yeah, I'll use it. With this blue truth, I'll break apart your witch theory, which states that only a witch culprit was possible because everybody had alibis. This is my truth. Umineko is already dead. Therefore, the true number of people on this island is 17. By adding an unknown person X to that, it becomes 18 people. By supposing that this X exists, the crimes will be possible even if all 17 people have alibis. Beep, boop, boop, boop. Okay, guys, I'm gonna take a few minute break here, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Alright, I'm back. And sure, if you keep Preventing us from meeting with Father, we want to accept the following theory. Simply put, Father's already dead, but you're hiding that because you don't want the inheritance to be distributed. Ridiculous. That's correct. This is the worst than ridiculous. I had never heard such an insult. It'd even be possible for us to check by force whether he's alive or dead with the police there is to witness it. Isn't that right, Eva Nissan? Yes, that's right, Nissan. There are all sorts of ways we could set you up. We could easily arrange for a situation where we have to hold a meeting with the father under the supervision of a third party. Still, that would bring a lot of shame to the Ushimiya family. That's why I'm making this proposal. Here we have the responsibilities and duties of the caretaker and penalty in the worst case scenario. If he consents to those terms, we'll be able to refrain from doing something like drag your father outside. Yeah, that's right, Aniki. Didn't you say it yourself? You're carrying out the natural duties as a dad's caretaker. That Kyrie's conditions shouldn't be anything to worry about, right? Why this overreaction? Are you really that worried about having the position of successor dragged out under you if dad dies something other than natural death? Or else what? Do you have some reason to think father might die of something other than a natural death? How could I? I see now I too understand how father feels, how pitiful his later years have been for him, unable to even die as he pleases. Yes, his later years truly have been pitiful, and I thought that these later years are already something of the past. Past is exactly what we were suspecting. He could completely clear the suspicion away just by letting us meet with father. So even if after being humiliated by us this much, you still won't allow us to meet with them crossing his son? Father's probably already dead. Of course, maybe being disposed of in absolute secrecy, and have to take it off the wealth for yourself as his father's agent. You will make it seem like he disappeared until 7 years pass, making father a corpseless member of the deceased. I'm sorry, but please don't take it badly, okay? I'm just playing detective here. How rude can one be? You have no right to stay in this mansion. Leave immediately. I won't permit you to cross the threshold of this house again. It worked last year, but you've used up your luck if you thought it worked this year too. Father's in a bad mood, so he can't meet with us. That was plenty suspicious last year, and yet you're doing it again. If you really wanted to fake being father's agent, grab up all the assets. You should have done a little bit more speedily, making him disappear without waiting for today's family conference. Really, you really are naive, cross Onisama. I have no idea what you are. However, if it's a fact that father's in a bad mood and you're preventing us from meeting him as a part of your responsibilities as caretaker, then it's a very wonderful thing you're doing. In that case, if you just accept our conditions, everything will be settled here and now. After all, you care so greatly for father, cross Nissan. There's no way father will die in a manner that leads to trouble during the autopsy. After all, father hates hospitals, so he'll pass away in his study, right? An autopsy will certainly be carried out no matter what happens. The only way to kill him without an autopsy would be for him to disappear. Enough, Kari, I think you bullied Nissan enough. Either rebuked Kari in a sickening kind of voice, considering the situation. Now it's impossible, which is why it was sickening. Yeah. I'm sure Nissan has his own difficulties to worry about as well as his pride. Sure, Nissan might consider that one of his natural duties, but if you force him to put it on paper and assign penalties, I could hardly blame him for getting upset. Don't you agree, Rosa? Yes, that's right. She might have been made of light of crusty such protest the oldest son a little too much. I'd feel bad for him if we were forced to sign a statement regarding the duties of the caretaker, as Kari has laid it out. That's right, you're doing a good job, Aniki. Take that into account and might consider avoiding all that about signing strange papers or worst case penalties. And leave everything to you. You people. Not just Eva, but Rudolph was as well, with unnerving smiles on their faces as though they had been planning this beforehand, began closing in on Cross. They now understood perfectly how Kari had cornered Cross exactly where she was prepared to compromise. We were talking about a single statement regarding the responsibilities of the caretaker, but even without significance such a thing, you can make it so that we'll never demand a meeting with father again. And we can prove your fitness as father's caretaker with a form of guarantee other than a signed statement, that is. Are you telling me to pay security money? Yeah. It's hilarious. The security money will be paid to Eva-san, Rudo-san, and Rosa-san 3 billion yen each. As a deposit, you'll transfer out 10% of the 300 million yen before the year is out. 9 billion, I don't have that kind of money. As your father passes away, you should be able to work without. We managed to investigate at least that far. You should be able to handle that deposit of 900 million yen in your current financial situation. And it should be even possible for you to borrow from father, right? There's no need for obvious charades anymore. How unpleasant, truly unpleasant. It's just as that, even just the discussion of father's inheritance was far too disrespectful. Father's already dead. My husband's hiding that and keeping all that money for himself. I have had enough of this. None of you are qualified to bear the name Ushirmiya any longer. Calm down, Natsui-san. We've all said all we need to. Why don't we leave it at that for now? This is happening all of a sudden on a massive scale. We might even be getting agitated ourselves. Why don't we take a break for a while and cool our heads? Krusty-san probably needs a little time himself. Right, Krusty-san? Time. And why would I need something like that? Don't worry. We aren't thinking of anything shady. We're just eager to see Father that we start grumbling a bit. And Krusty-san, I know real well how you're dying to get it back at us with things we've said. If you're willing to go so far, then you just need to let us meet with him, right? Isn't that right? You just got a bit stubborn and felt awkward to say you'd let us see him after saying we couldn't all those times. Isn't that it? Right? And it's starting to seem that my husband has lost his composure slightly, just like the rest of you have. We were only refusing stubbornly out of respect for the father's desire to meet with everyone. Indeed, that's right. It was turning into another sibling fight like the old days. I started feeling stubborn as well. It is cooler heads. I understand how much you want to meet with Father. I will pass it on to him. I'll find someone to convince Father to meet with you. Will that do? Yeah, I think it'd be okay to give Krusty-san some time to persuade Father. Yep, we're counting on you, Aniki. Please persuade him to meet with us. After all, your dad's caretaker. And as for persuading him, let's set a limit on how to sometime tonight, okay? When tomorrow comes, we'll confirm Father's well-being, even if we have to break down the door to his study. You have no problems with that, I take it, Nissan. Do as you like. I see it seems even the time I've been given to persuade him is so short. Let's go, Nazuhi. Well, she asked him to join us for dinner at least. Right. They crossed up the parlor with Natsuhi. Once the first steps disappeared, Hideyoshi took a deep breath as smirking and flopping onto the sofa. Kari-san, you're fighting in person. Sorry for speaking out of turn. I apologize. No, you didn't go to him like we'd originally planned, but in the end, this was even better. Just like always, I've got a bow in my head to you. But we can't even really prepare 900 million. I believe we have something like that. 700 million would be the most costly. He's not going to afford this current financial situation. Is it 900 million gouging him too much? If we could do it, that's fine too. But if we do something like lowering to 750 million, so across these like a save phase, it looks like we're compromising. It'll be easier to settle, right? And if he really does come out 900 million, that's even better. Nisa is probably having a strategy meeting with Natsuhi-san about now. It really will be interesting to see what kind of twisted logic our brown Nisa comes up with as an excuse. Convince Father? There's no way he can. There's a way to convince someone who is even there. The siblings have all come despite their various circumstances to this annual family conference. Across the Natsuhi could be seen in Kito's dimly lit study. Every once in a while, thunder could be heard in the dimly lit, flickered room with light. It seemed that the island would be closed off by the storm very soon. Father, please just someone show those disrespectful people that majesty of the head. It's useless. The large shadow of a person standing by the window, majestic back facing them, answered quietly and forcefully. He hung his head and shook. Eventually they could hear a mumbling laugh over his shoulder. Ha ha ha. It's useless, it's all useless. Wah ha ha ha. 3 months left to live and almost finished geezer. To whom exactly are you referring? You fools! Did you wander over here because your siblings threatened you? You know you're ashamed. As Kizo turned and brushed his cape, it flashed forth through the room's stale air. The air pressure truly signified that Ushirmiya against its majesty and willpower itself. After being blown back by the wind, it was a stranger cross-legged on his butt. As though showing consideration for Cross, who looked as though his legs had been swept out from under him, Natsui also crouched down. Then with a thunk, his footsteps approached with half that signified his dignity. Father, you fool, I heard from Kennen. Just how far did you pathetically let your siblings lead you around by the nose? Father, my husband's doing his best to protect your honor. Without lending an ear to Natsuhi's words, Kenzo extended his palm across his collar as the latter sat on the floor. Now he curled his fingers, leaving his point finger out. They took that finger and pressed it across his collar, twisted it, and slowly, with one finger, picked the cross into the air. You really are pathetic, fool. You let out your wife speaking in your defense. If you have an excuse, give it yourself. Cross clawed up the air. Kinzo's brawny finger was choking him. He couldn't even open his mouth when she was talk. However, even if he had been able to open his mouth, as he was out, there was no way he'd be able to think of an excuse that Kinzo would accept. Still, how could his power be described? No one could call Kinzo an old man after seeing his superhuman strength. Father, my husband is fighting in his own way. Please forgive him. Natsuhi, fighting is a process you go through before winning. The process you go through before losing isn't called fighting. It's called being pathetic. Wow, you call this my successor? Wow. I was stunned at roar. Kenzo laughed heartily as though nothing could be more pleasant. And when he finished laughing, he threw his son away like he was a scrap paper, slamming him against the wall. Whoa. Dear, are you okay? Cross slid down the wall, rubbing his throat and in pain. So he went up to him and looked after him, but Michelle showing any interest in two of them. Kenzo returned to the space into the window. I still had been there the whole time. He looked at the thunder clouds of misfortune. I thought I would have no regrets in my life if only I could meet Beatrice, but it seems it won't go so smoothly. It was promised from the beginning that nothing received from which would remain. However, the Ushiomiya name is not the property of the wish. Who is fit to succeed that name? It seems that this alone must be resolved by my own hand. Rejoice, Cross. I have changed my mind. Father, so I have no desire to have dinner with you cowards. However, I will attend a family conference afterwards. Father, thank you very much. Yeah, I shall make a great announcement regarding the succession of the head. I will resolve your foolish quarrel myself. Okay, guys, it seems like I won't be ending the video here. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.